What's up, people? It's your boy Humble Dad. Welcome back to another edition of Humble Dad Podcast. We got a great show for you tonight. Why? Because I said so. We got some special guests in the building that are going to be talking about the topic at hand, and that is how do you teach something that you didn't even do yourself, right? And we're going to work our way up into that particular conversation. And so we're going to introduce first. I reached out to her a couple weeks ago and to find out if she would be on the show. We rocked real heavy when we was in Houston. I thought we knew each other. I mean, how she walked up on me, you know. But glad to know her. Welcome to the stage, Miss Amber Marie Green. What it is, lady?
Man, thank you so much, Dr. Humble Dad, for inviting me. How you doing?
I'm doing well. All right, doing well. I got a question for you. You ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so the question that we're starting with is what goal did you accomplish last week and what's a goal for this week?
Last week I secured three sponsorships with a couple companies that wants me to help scale their brand. So I'm excited about that.
That's what's up. And so what's your one for this week?
This week, self-care. Just kind of focusing on me, getting back to my trainer, getting everything in order for the holidays and things like that. Just kind of just focusing solely on me this week.
That's what's up. Yeah, I appreciate that. I appreciate you being here. Then we're gonna welcome none other to the stage. You know, my homie, my friend. He's always late, but always on time. My homie, Mr. Dwayne Jones.
Yo, yo.
What's up? You know the question?
Yes, sir.
Okay, go ahead with it.
Uh, Accomplishment for the last week. Finished up two sets of pictures for two different shoots that I did. So that's what's up. Got that off my plate. Next up, got a couple of home improvement. My wife and I took off next this Thursday and Friday. So got some work around the house to do.
That's what's up. Hey, you and Amber may have to talk offline. Like she's a photographer as well.
Oh, that's what's up.
Yeah. Hey, then we got a new person in the building. This is her first time coming to the stage. I'm excited about it. You know, she likes to do hair care products and things of that nature. She'll share with you just a little bit later. Welcome to the stage, Miss Sugar Curls Salon. What's good? You're on mute.
Okay, there we go. Sorry. Thank you for having me. Good evening to everyone.
Absolutely. You got the question?
I do. So last week, my goal I accomplished, I reached out to family. Last week, I didn't have a chance to speak to a few family members over some time. And so I was really happy about that. Touch bases with some friends is kind of a goal of mine to keep up with family and not let too much time pass by. And this week, my goal is to close a big deal, a really big deal for my company. So I'm excited about that.
You're on mute, Dr. Humble Dad.
This person came last week and people was like, you know, I really enjoyed their perspective. And so as always, I really appreciate people that give a dope perspective, and it's none other than Mr. CJ from Phi 100.
My
What's good,
God,
homie?
what's up with it?
Chilling, man. You know the question?
Yes, sir.
All right, stay with it.
So last week, me and my daughter actually finished the book I told you we were reading. Wayside Schoolers Upside Down. So we finally finished the annoying book. She enjoyed it. I just did my job supervising, you know what I'm saying, help her get through it. Also, we finished completing episode 105 of the podcast. So we got that out. That was a conversation about being a non-custodial parent. Um, this week, I'm gonna be the biggest cheerleader at my daughter's cheerleading event. You know what I'm saying? So go Memphis Tigers.
That's what's up. Thanks for being here. And then none other, not last but not least, obviously, you know what I'm saying. She can tell you anything about this hair that I don't have because this back line conversation was like lit for real. Right? We're gonna welcome to the stage none other than Miss Nee Lewis.
Hey,
Hey, lady, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Good evening.
Good evening. You got the question?
Yes.
All
So
right. Yeah.
last week I managed to kind of rein the family in on the Thanksgiving plans, which can be a little bit challenging. There was some location decisions that needed to be made, so we were able to get that solidified and an assignment set out for Thanksgiving festivities. So if you have a big family, kind of like my in-laws, that is an event, that is a task coordinating. So glad to have that complete and then beginning my efforts this week, segueing into my goal this week, is to kind of get everything mapped out for groceries and what needs to be procured for the Thanksgiving feast. So that is my goal this week, amongst continuing my interview process that I told y'all about last week. So we still in the running. We still in the running.
That's what's up. Good stuff. My goal for last week was to kind of get an idea of how to do my job. I'm a managing director for this tutoring company, and so I basically am learning on the fly. So trying to get a schedule together. So I almost got that down. And this week is to make sure that I optimize the time with my kids, that I steward the time that I have with my kids this week, right? Especially what I already told Amber. You know what I'm saying? When we was offline, she said, "How you doing?" I said, "Do you want my real answer?" Right?
Yeah.
Everybody got the church answer, right?
Mm-hmm.
I said, yeah, let me tell you, right? I'm sure I'll let you know, Dwayne, because you're always in my business, right? Okay, but
There they go. There they go.
hey, listen, here we go. First question of the evening. First question: Are parents hypocrites? Are parents hypocrites? I'll put it up there in a minute, and we're gonna start with uh, Amber. And after you finish, Amber, you get to choose who you want to go next.
Okay. Yes, we are. I think we're naturally hypocrites, not intentionally, but we are quick to condemn our children for probably the very thing we were guilty of doing when we were kids, and have to remember that at times.
Okay, cool. Who you got? Who you got going next?
I'll go right underneath me. What you got, CJ?
Um, yeah, we kind of can be hypocritical, but it comes from a place of wanting our children to do better than we did more times than not. But yeah, I've definitely been hypocritical. And if my daughter gets into a fight at any point in time, I would be the biggest hypocrite because that's all I used to do as a kid. But I just want her to be better. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of where it comes from. But yeah, we definitely are hypocrites.
Hmm.
All right, you choose who's next. This is going to be a recurring theme, so I'm just letting you know early.
Oh,
You answer, you choose.
let me get your best friend, Dwayne Jones. So you get him.
I don't know how you came up with that, CJ. I'd say yes, but I think it also then has the ability to tug at the conscience because ain't nothing like whenever your kids start to behave like you, and then you realize, hey, that ain't pretty. And then in that you realize where they got it from. They got it from somewhere, and then that has your ability to grow. So, humble dad, I really appreciate the name because being a parent does really humble you because it does really hone you back in to allow you to be the best you that you desire to be, because then it allows you to be the best parent to allow your children to be the best children that they can be, because eventually they'll be adults and you want them to be the best adult that they can be as well.
Thank you for sharing. Who's next? Who you got?
Let's go with Nee. Come on with it.
I'm gonna go with the group. Yes, absolutely. I try to own it. I try to own it, especially with the teenager. And it is from the caveat of, because I want you to be better, right? Yes, this is something I struggle with as a teen too, but this is why. Or as an adult, you see me doing this, but this is because this is what 37 years of practicing poor habits do. They're hard to break. And I think that humanizing yourself in front of your children is important too. They need to see the human aspects of parents, because sometimes we can be put on a pedestal and we can be expected to be perfect, and we're still people even through parenting. So I just try to address that. I just try to not to shy away from it. I remember being a child and, seeing the hypocrisy of my parents, and it was just, there was a little old school. It's like, shut up, that do as I say, not as I do. But that's literally what that is. It's hypocrisy. You are actively seeing me do something that I'm telling you not to do. So for me, it's expounding, especially for older children, on the why. This is what it's costing me, this habit that you see that I'm telling you to avoid. This is what it has cost me. This is what it costs me currently. And I want you to be better, because you can be. You have the opportunity to make that decision. So,
Mm-hmm.
That's good.
And last but not least, Miss Sugar Curl.
Yeah, so when I think about hypocrisy, I think about something that's a little bit more intentional. So I'm not sure what context we're speaking in exactly, but I don't know any parent directly who is intentionally putting on false pretense, like they're preaching one thing and they're intentionally doing something else. I'm sure there's parents out there like that know they're doing something wrong, but they're telling their child to do something right. I think from my experience, most parents, we want our children to be better than how we were. We want our children to not make the same mistakes that we made, to lead in a different way so that society in the future can be better. So I would say that I don't know that parents are intentionally putting on a false appearance of virtue and then telling their child to do something else, but perhaps maybe in their own selfish way. Like maybe the parent has some old habits or some things that they haven't gotten out of their system from their childhood, and they're unintentionally still into these habits. And so, but they're wanting their child to be better. So they're preaching to their child, please don't do this. Please don't do that. Don't date this boy. Don't use drugs. But they have these habits that they haven't been self-aware about. It hasn't been brought to their attention. So they're not intentionally being a hypocrite. So I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you answer however you want to, and then if somebody disagrees, they'll just disagree professionally and diplomatically, So I appreciate everybody's response. That's the. Does anybody have anything to add before we move forward? All right, bet. Okay, so everybody, so we got everybody pretty much saying that they feel like parents are hypocrites, but Sugar Curl says that hypocrisy would be something that is something that's intentional. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, and most parents don't do things intentionally to hypocritically. Is what you're saying. All right.
Yeah.
All right. So last week so just keep that in mind. All right. So last week we talked about where the men were saying that they know when they was back in the day, they was able to spot a young lady that did not have a father in their life, right? And so that led me to, and they said that because of that, they would pursue that particular young lady differently than they would pursue a woman that had their father in their life, right?
Mhm.
And so I wrote that question down, or that statement down, and so I spent it back, and I said I wanted to ask the question of what does a guy see in a woman that shows she doesn't or didn't have her daddy in her life? Okay. Let me see if I can get it here. Okay. I think I got it. And I thought that was pretty interesting because I never operated from that position, right? What does a guy see in a woman that shows she didn't have her daddy? Okay. Women, you could think about it, but we're gonna start with the men first, and then you could kind of you can respond to what it is that they say. All right. So we'll start with CJ because I think he kind of made the premise first, and then Dwayne was like, okay, yeah. That's probably accurate statement. So CJ,
Mm-hmm.
Answer that for us, please.
Oh, what does a guy see in a woman that shows she didn't have her daddy? Security. She had a lack of security. Like the way she moved, right? A compliment would make her light up in a way that lets you know that someone is not there telling her how pretty she is, especially if she's quote unquote not pretty. Like that's amplifier, right? Because she already deals with the issues of not thinking she is. So when I tell her she is just to get what I want, this is a young man now. I'm not doing this today, so please don't judge me. But as a young man, I definitely did that, and just to get what I wanted out of her. So most of the time, it was a compliment or her being not as confident in how she looks, that would get me in easier. But I would say this: it wasn't necessarily I knew she didn't have a father in her life, but that was always the result. Like every time I talked to a girl like that, that would be that's what would happen. Like it would be no father there. And honestly, as a man now, I actually crave to meet a woman that has a father that sets out a guideline and that I have to go meet, sit down, and call pops, all that. I actually want that today. But you can tell just by how they move. You're just not 100% sure at that time. But today I can spot it a mile away.
Dwayne.
Yeah, I agree with that. That the lack of low self-esteem, the low value in themselves and what they can achieve, the desire for attention. So the moment that you start to deposit that, and you could just be making small deposits, and I think a guy that's just out to get what they want is just going to be cheap. So like a salesman who's just trying to sell something, and if they're easily able to sell you on whatever it is that they're trying to get, then it is what it is. So I think that's the way that you can tell, because if they have all those securities, if they have a high value of themselves, they won't sell themselves short. Like, you go to the store and you get the items off the clearance shelf, right? They're there for a reason. So I think a lot of these young ladies that discount themselves, or these fathers that don't put a high markup on their kids, or don't discount their kids, those are the ones that will be able to be successful versus the ones that are discounted and clearanced out.
Can I say something to that right quick though? I don't call my daughter princess, right? And some people look at me and go, "Why would you not do that?" She's fine being Camille. That's how I look at it. I tell her she's pretty. I tell her she's smart. I tell her she can be smarter. She told me, "Daddy, I'm the smartest girl in my school." I said, "Maybe in theory, but today you're not. So if you want to be the smartest girl in your school, you got to put the work in." I don't sell a false reality to my daughter. That's another thing that could make her easily manipulated, because her dad can be there, but be telling her things that are not true, or not trying to help grow that potential inside of her. So I just want to say that.
Ladies, this is on you. What say ye to that? It's anybody.
Well,
Go ahead, Sugar Curls.
can I go? Okay, so what I was thinking, I'm not a guy, but I would suspect a man would see in a woman would be maybe a woman who lacks discipline, perhaps structure, perhaps she's all over the place. Hey, what are your plans? What are your goals for the future? And she's not really focused. She's kind of, I don't know, maybe she doesn't really have her head on, as it were, doesn't have good head on her shoulder, because I would think a father being in a daughter's life, or a woman's life, he would be that guide. He would be that instructor. He would be that sense of discipline. Like, what? You don't have this in law? That's not going to happen. Let's get it together. Get focused, So she would naturally grow into that. I would also think perhaps he would see in a woman that she kind of wants to create him into her dad. So she's seeking out attention from him that's maybe unhealthy. And that would have to be something that's in conversation. I don't think you can see that, but after conversation, maybe she's projecting unhealthy relationship vibes on him and requirements on him, seeking for that dad. And so I think a man could sense that after talking with a woman.
This is amazing to me. This is my first time actually like hearing this from a guy's perspective. But I guess I'm thinking about my childhood because well, y'all don't know, I was raised by my dad. And I was kind of raised like a tomboy. My dad didn't call me princess or you're beautiful or, I remember falling off my bike and my dad was like, suck it up, take it like a boy. And I'm like, Dad, but I'm not a boy. And I realized I would probably be the anomaly where I was seeking attention from guys because even though my dad raised me, I didn't get that, oh, you're pretty, or when I hear that, it was almost foreign to me. So I'm just kind of just surprised by this conversation, to be honest.
That's interesting.
That's what we do around here. CJ learned it last week. Yeah. What you got, Miss Nee, on it?
Oh no, there's several things like running through my mind because there's so many directions, but I can see scenarios where a woman is to CJ's point, very easily impressed with compliments and the slightest of gestures, even just the inkling of attention. I can also see a scenario where a woman is eager to please, eager to do and give and earn the affections of men because maybe she felt that she wasn't worthy, or she hadn't done enough to receive that in her life, whether that was her father being absent, or like kind of maybe even to Amber's point, a father that just didn't have that that nurturing side, although I don't know that nurture is something that we attach very much to masculinity. We expect a nurturer to be more of a feminine quality and trait. So I'm sure he was a great dad, especially raising you on his own, but he was also doing what he knew as a man. And so you are the polar opposite. Okay, I was raised by only my dad, but I wasn't getting that nurturing energy, and so that left a longing for you to find that. So this is just an interesting topic because I was like, ooh, how do you just kind of look and know? And I think to Sugar Curl's point, I don't want to call. Do you want to be called Sugar Curl? That's your business name, but like I don't want to be calling your business name.
Thanks for asking, though.
Yeah. Okay. To her point, now I lost my train of thought. but just, being able to look at somebody and know that versus having a conversation and kind of interacting, which most of the time boys are doing, they're trying to get your attention so they can see what they need to see to determine what box they're going to put you on. Is this the girl I take serious, or is this the young lady that's for fun? So, yeah, just very, very interesting question and how all of that plays out. So.
One of the reasons why I'll never be one of the guys that's not a proponent for marriage is because of what Amber was saying. Like, I'm very strong in how I present myself. I didn't realize it till I became a dad because she cried at every little thing I did. So I kind of had to work on it. And when I was married, my wife would kind of coach me through that. I don't want my daughter to lack what I don't have because I'm not even supposed to have it to a degree. Like, I can be nurturing, but I know that's not my predominant role. Like, I can do it, but what I'm better at doing is telling her to get up, cleaning off her knee, telling her it's gonna be all right, and I go out there and play. I've literally done it 100 times. So I that's why I'm so adamant about finding the right woman, because I need that balance, because I'm a lot. I'm definitely a lot.
I would definitely encourage it because when my parents got divorced, my mother, went back to Seattle, and whatever, how men boys have, there's a rite of passage, whatever that is, into manhood, whatever that looks like. Whatever the rite of passage was into womanhood, I didn't know what that looked like. I didn't know what to do when, I started my period and hormones and training bras and like, I'm 39 and I feel like I probably started understanding what it is to be a woman at the age of 30, to be very honest, because, that longing for that connectivity with whatever femininity looks like. So I definitely would encourage, when God provides you the woman, that you grab onto her, just not for your sake, but for your daughters, because she's going to have a lot of questions that a woman can only answer.
Anyone else? That's good.
Can I ask Amber a question? Because I think your experience is very unique to have been raised by your father. So, and I guess maybe I can't ask that question. I'm going to ask, do you think that your experience in life do you have a different viewpoint in life versus perhaps if you were just raised by a mother, like most women are, if their dad is not in the home? Because I was kind of wondering about the question in terms of, does it matter if the father is in the home sometimes? Like some children go to their dad every other weekend or, once a week. And then some families don't have their dad at all, but you were raised by him. So when you talk to women and like go through your life experience, do you see your world around you in a different way? Or what is your,
I think because anger issues I had with my mother, feeling abandoned by her. I had a hard time connecting with other Black women. I didn't trust them. I preferred, sometimes, and I told my dad this after therapy, that sometimes when I was a teenager, I wish I was a boy like my brother, because the way they bonded, I just couldn't get that same type of bonding. I try to act like a boy or cover, you know what I mean? Just so my dad can talk to me the same like he talks to my brother, you know what I mean? I definitely realized it affected, the relationship with men, the type of men I chose, my relationships with women, because I didn't have that. And my aunts tried, my father's sisters tried to come in and guide me through that, because I already didn't trust any woman, I would block them. And so because of that, I try to figure out what it is to be a woman by life, and typically life will teach you the hard way, if you know what I mean. So it definitely, and I'm glad I went to therapy and got a spiritual advisor now, but it definitely took some time of healing. A long time of healing.
Yeah.
That's commendable. I'm glad that.
I appreciate
Absolutely.
it. Thank you, sis.
Encouraging.
Man, I appreciate your transparency.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because you could have said, I don't want to answer that question. But I think that, facts, because you talking like that helped me, because right now I am a single father, right? Raising 4 kids, and my oldest is a girl. She's 13, and she's at that age. I think the positive thing, she's at the age of you always need your mother, right? Mm-hmm. But she's at that age where she's a teenager, and she's in the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. There's a transition that's taking place in becoming an adult, right? That's different than being in high school, right? And so she doesn't have that right now, right? And so, however, the dope part is that God did send me somebody, that could connect with her. They knew it would be as soon as this, but they have found a way to connect, and they love each other, and they're looking for each other to she looks to her to say, okay, if I have a question about being a woman, I know who I can ask. Right. And then that statement that you're talking about the period. Oh yeah, I don't want none of those questions. Just don't want none of those questions. I mean, I go look it up. You feel me?
But I mean, not to get vulgar, but sugar curls need, it's real. Like, tampon or pads. How to insert the pad, like the tampon, like real girl, like just hormone. Look at his face. Look at CJ's face.
Look, look.
Jeez.
Hey, what do you need? I'll go get it. You know what I'm saying?
thing though, humble dad. Girls need more
What
than
do
the
I
stuff we would
need?
need. Yeah, we
What
need
do I
more than
need?
that.
Yeah.
That's
We
that's a
need
very good.
you know what I'm saying? We need instructions, and we need kind of
Yeah.
supports,
Yes. And
in
managing,
yes,
building a routine, learning to
yes,
track that, how to clean
hygiene,
properly and
yes.
hygiene and how to keep stuff on you in case and change your clothes and when to be aware and
Girl, look at their faces. Look
look
at
that look the trauma.
Y'all want listen?
He's
it's
like,
it's
y'all
not
keep-
normal to us.
Yeah.
It's not normal to us. So
My bonus baby was sitting on the couch the other day and she was saying her stomach was hurting and my husband looked at her and he's like, you better not be over there trying to start bleeding. Like he freaked out.
no.
Oh.
No.
hey,
Stay
listen,
home, calm down. You on DEFCON 3. Like, the child got food poisoning. Like he
Hell no.
because some young ladies start earlier. Like it's not always teenage. I had a friend who started in 3rd grade. Like it is not always teenage, and then there's like a maturity thing there when you have a child that starts that early, and how to help guide her into learning a more adult, a more older young lady concept. So yeah.
oh, Rilla.
Much love and respect to you, Amber.
Thank you.
Hey, Rilla. Did you catch any of what we talking about right now?
And you know I
He
was
probably wanted
cooling
to miss
home.
it.
You know I was
Hey.
cooling home, man.
Listen, Rilla got have girls, right? So we talking about men and talking to their daughters about having a period, bro. Like we.
Exactly. Real reaction. Can't fake that one.
You choke.
I'm sorry.
So, but that wasn't even the question, but that's how it went that way, right? So because the question was like, what does a guy see in a woman that shows she didn't have her dad? Because that was a conversation that we had last week, right? And so they were giving their perspective, and Amber, she was raised by her dad, which is an anomaly, right? And so Sugar Curls was asking her
You
about
on mute, really?
No, I know. I just didn't want to
Rilla
talk.
be knowing, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Rilla be knowing, yeah.
My bad. Professionalism. My bad. I ain't mean to disrespect your Pippin, G. My bad.
Listen, when I first, like, I used to always tell Rilla, like, you on mute, but like had to realize that that's what he's doing. He's thinking out loud, and he don't want us to know just yet, right? And so yeah. So what's your take on that, Rilla? What does a guy see in a woman that shows she didn't have her dad?
Dang, you know what? Now that you say that about BZ, it makes all the sense in the world now. I think you could tell a woman wasn't raised by her dad when she's like super clingy to you. Like super clingy, super needy. It's almost like you pick up on the vibe that she's trying to fill that void. You know what I'm saying? Whereas, and it's not, and I don't think this is a bad thing, but whereas when you meet women who grew up with their dad, they're independent, but they know how to be interdependent. If that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah, because my wife grew up with both parents in the house, so she's independent. She was fiercely independent when I met her, but she's also interdependent. So that's just what comes to mind off top.
That's a bet.
Super clingy, super needy. Yeah, super clingy and needy. That's a dead giveaway to me.
That's a bet. Just wanted to kind of bring you into the fold what we talking about, man. Appreciate you being here, my dude. Right? Hey, the first and then the other question that you can talk about later was, are parents hypocrites? Right? You don't have to talk about that now, but that was the very first question, right? And so I want to transition. I think I want to ask this question based upon what you all were just talking about, parents being hypocrites. Y'all talked about, the cycle, and things of that nature. And so my question is, how would you respond to your child who told you that they lost their virginity? how would you respond to your child who told you they lost their virginity?
I don't know if that's CJ and Dwayne responded, like they just go walk out the room.
Right, they both walked away. Is that, are they really walking away? That's the response. I'm confused.
So like they both just got up and walked.
He got the
So while I do not condone in any way, shape, form, or fashion premarital sex, I believe sex is a huge responsibility. It's designed for marriage, and I preach that. But I also know I'm fighting something much larger than just what goes on in my household. I can instill the values I want to instill, give my perspectives about it and my advice and my wisdom. But I have open dialogues with my teenager about sex. We've been talking about sex since she was in 4th grade. Mostly because it was brought to her that early. Much far earlier than I thought I would need to have that conversation. So to me, if she came to me and was like, hey, with all that I've known and all that you told me, I still made the decision to do that. Inside, I'd probably be like melting down, screaming, falling out on the floor, like, why? But I would want to know what her reasoning was behind it. Like, why did you feel like this was the right decision for you? Are you prepared to deal with the consequences, unintended or otherwise, that come from, sex? And then I would take her to, be proactive with the necessary birth control. Because at that point, if you made the decision and you've broken your virginity, beating you or trying to restrict you or discipline you out of that, like, I think this is the part that is the hardest part of parenting, is realizing that although you are charged with raising these children and giving them the best chance to be successful at life, they're still individual beings. We don't own them. We don't really own how they turn out. We can do everything we can to make sure. Some of us have those children that toe the line. They're gonna do exactly what you say, how you say it, when you say it, because that's the kind they want to be. And then we have children that learn by fire. They hear you, but they gotta go check for themselves. They gotta make sure they know and they understand. And then you have those children that are going to go wayward, but they're going to find their way back to what you've instilled in them, and they level out. I think I was kind of one of those ones that segued a little bit, and then I came back to what I knew was right. But if Akeisha came and told me like I did this, I would want to know, was she protected? What did she do? Why did she do it? And then, start making sure she's going to the doctor, getting checked. We're on birth control. We're being responsible, but I'm going to still continue to encourage abstinence. It's never going to be oh, well, you're doing it now, so it's cool. No, it's going to be like, there are consequences. And this is where I stand on those consequences, because this is what I'm telling you. This is what I expect you to abide by. If you're going to make these decisions, then this is what's coming with it. And I'm going to make you stand on those consequences, because I am that parent. That's adulthood. You can do what you want, but can you live with the consequences? So if you're going to make that decision and the consequences arise, you got to be able to stand on it.
For sure. Hey, don't be scared to have the conversation, young people. We waiting on anybody to go forward.
People. My son, he actually just turned 14 yesterday. And he also just moved in with his dad about 4 months ago. And so I'm trying to not see him as my baby. I know right now he is completely under his dad provision and covering, because he's at that age, maybe a couple years, younger, he needs his dad. There's just things I can't teach him into manhood. The conversations I hear his dad have with him, I don't know if I would say his dad is encouraging him to have sex, or sorry, can we say it on here? But it's almost like, and my dad is obviously still involved in my life, so I'm glad that whenever I have issues, me and my dad, his dad would get together. But it's like almost like I'm outnumbered because my dad's like, you don't understand, this is boys typically lose their virginity between these ages. And, me and his dad need to teach them what to do and how to do it. So I kind of feel like I'm on the outside looking in when it comes to this subject, to be honest.
That's fair. Anybody?
So for me, I talk all the time about, my daughter, who's married. When she was in high school, she didn't even date. Her mother was very protective and she didn't lose her virginity until she got married. However, my son actually lost his virginity, and he told me. And I'm thinking about it now, and it may have been a missed opportunity for me. I allowed my kids the space to always have the conversation with me, but I had to be honest with him and just kind of let him know, like, that was not cool, bro. Like, I expressed my disappointment with him for doing that, and it wasn't because like I'm trying to protect him, or I'm not realistically looking at what he has to deal with in the world. The reason why he did it was just a foolish reason, number one. And then I had to explain to him, you're not even protecting that young lady. You're essentially you're supposed to be a gentleman. You kind of violated that young lady. So that was the position that we had that conversation from. And then, my ladybug, it's my other daughter. I probably would pass out if she told me some goofy stuff like that. I ain't gonna lie. I probably would pass out. She's a good kid. She's really focused on school and, athletics. But I think, because she's my last, like I'm retired after her. So I probably would pass out. Y'all quiet in the mud.
Look at the brothers. Look at the way they praying.
But I'm like, is the reaction different, like between boys and girls? I just feel like there is.
We not gonna listen.
Sorry.
They gonna answer. You know what I'm saying? They gonna answer. They
Let me say this about my son. The reason why I take that approach with him, because when I wish somebody had talked to me about sex in the way that I understand it now, and being intimate with somebody, right? And what's the reason for that, and why we do things the way that we do. And then I also think that, a lot of times we teach our boys to, conquer. Like when I lost my virginity, my uncle like, yeah, boy, man, get some more, get some for me, boy, get all you can get, and da-da-da-da-da. Right? That's what he said. And then I came to learn, it's like, no, that's dumb. It's irresponsible. It's dangerous. It's not cool. It's one of the things that we talk about in certain spaces now, where you're creating a pool of dating candidates, the very ones that most people say they reject, that you're contributing to that same pool. So, I hold my son. I don't treat, when it comes to that conversation, I just don't treat him or Ladybug or my Chocolate any different. You know what I'm saying?
I love the names.
They're
the names.
so cute. So cute.
So they do not want to answer. Look at their faces.
Sugar Curl's gonna go. Sugar Curl, you go, and then you get to choose who you want to go after you.
Okay, so CJ and Mr. Dwayne have not answered yet. Is that correct?
They have not answered verbally. They have not answered verbally.
Right.
But they have answered non-verbally.
Okay. So yeah, I had to think long and hard about this. The truth is, I don't know how I would respond. We have 2 girls, but my goal is to always teach them Bible principles. We teach them Bible principles. We're also very candid with them and very open, try to keep an open environment so that they are comfortable. One of the things that I did for our girls is I purchased a book that explains everything for child appropriate. Okay. The body, the sex organs of both male and female, what your period is, what your body parts are, what they're meant for, why God created you as a woman, why did God create the man? What is marriage? And we do instill in them that type of action is for marriage. So that is a value we're going to always teach them. But we also teach them about the things in the world, the things that they can get into. You are going to feel like you like a boy. A boy is going to like you. You're going to feel these tingling sensations on your body, and that's okay. Those things are normal. But what is the appropriate way of expressing those things so that it's healthy, so that you don't have all those extra emotions and things that come with perhaps doing something that maybe wasn't ready for, you thought you were ready for. So I would hope that they follow that, and they look to God as someone that they're looking to please first, and not their parents. Obviously the parents would be second in line, I would hope. I just hope that I would not overreact on anything that our children come tell us, because the overreaction is not going to help.
Do it. Yeah.
So, yeah.
You get to choose between the two quiet people. man.
Okay. I would like for Mr. Dwayne Jones to go next.
Oh man, plot thickens. Oh boy, yeah, that'd be a tough one. I mean, for me, it'd be an utter sense of betrayal, right? Because that's how I look at it. Because that's what my oldest daughter. I tell her that I am very jealous. I'm very jealous of any boy that desires to show interest of her, because ain't nobody more interested in her and her well-being than me and the Lord. Okay, like her mama, yeah, her mama's there, but like that to me is knowing myself. And a few talks back, the question was asked, is my perspective based upon having girls? And I would say yes, because I would say I was a dog, right? And from that standpoint, I know what my goal and my mission was and what my agenda was, and it was just to get it in. It was a free for all, swing at everything, right? So I project that on every last boy. I look at you. I don't care if you are straight A, if you are pristine and all that. You're a dog, right? That's just and it's sad for me to look at them like that. But then again, it's like that's the sad place in which I was at. So just like Really just said, like having the ability to be taught. I did not have the talks. I did not have the don't do that. As a matter of fact, one of the encouragement was whenever I do engage in that act, that's whenever I'll be a man. That was the motivation I had. That was what encouragement I had. And I think that is totally wrong. Totally wrong. And that's not the way that I'm raising my children. So Ms. Sugar Curls, whenever you said that you're trying to raise them from a biblical standpoint, from a biblical point of view, that's what I am trying to do myself. And I do struggle with that. And I made mention to Humble Dad in a conversation, like in my effort to make sure that I'm able to provide every last thing that my children need so that they won't make those mistakes, I have to unfortunately fall back on God is the ultimate provider, and he provided for Adam and Eve, and they still stumbled. And I struggle with that because I can't provide 99%. I can't. But then trying the best that I can and knowing that I can still fail, that is what then lingers in the back of my mind. So I have to relinquish certain ideas in which I have as for what I can do and what my capacity is. And ultimately, the best thing I can do is what the Bible says, train up the child in the way of the Lord, so when he grows up, he shall not depart from it. And ultimately, my responsibility is to teach them that, hey, your goal is not to go out there and fulfill every last desires that you have. Your goal is to love the Lord with all your mind, your heart, your strength, and your soul. And in that process, then your path will be set set straight. And that is my goal, to teach them. And I know that, to the question as for the hypocrisy, I lost my virginity at a young age. So how am I going to teach that to my son? How am I going to teach that as for my daughters to abstain and stay away from these things? And especially in this world where it tells you to indulge. So I find that to be a struggle. And the only thing that I can do, I'm able to do, is be active and be engaged in their lives. Mm-hmm. And also then know their circle, know their friends, know who they're hanging out with, and be present. So, yeah.
That's what's up. That's good stuff. Hey, listen, CJ, you've had time, bro. Okay. It's on you.
That's a, bro. Like, I agree with all the preventative measures. That's how I'm thinking. But bro, I don't know what. Can I curse? Or is it bro? I don't know what the fuck I would do. That is terrifying for me, bro. Like, and this is gonna sound bad, but if it's a teenage, if she's a teenager, like, I would hate to her to run into me at that age. And that's why I work so hard at being a better man, being the best father I can be, because I don't want to be the example of a fuck boy that'll take advantage of her in that way. But it can be Jesus that does it. It doesn't even matter. It's like I'm terrified of that, bro. I don't even know. I don't know how to react. I can't even tell you, because that's my little best friend. You know what I'm saying? She's a daddy's girl. She's attached to my hip. So for someone to have her in that way, that's just terrifying. I would be okay with it when she's married, of course, because if she's gonna marry a man, that's my, like Dwayne said, that's my fiance. You know what I'm saying? He's my fiance. So I know everything about him. I know how he's moving. I know what he's about. So I'm a little more comfortable with that. But just losing her virginity, especially at in her teenagers, that's just terrifying, bro. Like, I don't even know what to say. Like, my hands start shaking when you ask that question, bro, because that's nerve-wracking for me.
Okay.
I'm not ready for that.
Can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
I'm gonna use Rilla's terms. It was a slut monkey, right? It's a slut monkey. I have and even my dad, I've noticed a pattern of men who have daughters, just across the board. The biggest fear, y'all just said, I don't want her to run into a me. Right? That's the pattern I am noticing. But why is the behavior happening if you don't want that behavior imposed on your daughter? Is that a fair question to ask?
I would say, go ahead, Dwayne.
No, you got it. No, go for it.
I was gonna say, that's why I said teenager. The younger me, I didn't know no better. You know, like Rilla said, when I rest in peace, my Uncle Bubba, man. When I got some cheeks for the first time, you know what I'm saying? I got a shot, and I was 14. I got a shot of some Crown for getting some ass. You know what I'm saying? So I was thinking I was doing right. It wasn't until I look back and look at what I left left behind me that I was like, damn, like, that really wasn't the move. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I would hate for my daughter to run into the uninformed, uneducated, undisciplined man that I was. Hell yes. No, because I know what I was and I didn't care, because I didn't understand what I was doing. I was just getting pleasure out of it. I wasn't even trying to get hers. I'm trying to get mine and gone. That's all I was thinking. You know what I'm saying? So hell, that's why for me.
Yeah, and I could chime in on that one too, because it's like if you know better, you do better. So at that age, like, you didn't know no better, right? And especially like from every last piece of entertainment that's out there, from the music, from the TV shows, from the movies, it's like there's no lack of commitment. And I'll say it like this: every last girlfriend I had, I cheated on, except for my wife, right? every last answer. I did not understand what commitment was. I did not. So in that, it's like these boys. It's like, hey, you just trying to check, check, and then it's like once you just find that once you conquer, it's like on to the next, conquer, on to the next, conquer, and on to the next. And it's like I don't desire my daughter to be conquered. I desire my daughter or ultimately to be a prize to be won, right? And it's something that takes effort, and it's not going to be easy in so much that it's something that you work for and that you will then continue to work for the rest of your life.
Hey,
It
Dwayne,
takes effort. Yes, sir.
um, would you say? Hold on, I just lost the damn question. Um, because I was just thinking about what you were saying, and I'm thinking about why I did what I did and what was the result of me doing what I did. And I'm moving a lot different today. Like, um, I was I was celibate, but I caved a couple weeks ago. But I'm doing things to strengthen my resolve today. But I don't know. I don't even know how to ask the question because I kind of lost it. But it
Come
was a
on
while.
with it.
I
Come
just
on with it.
I'll come back to it, bro. If I think about it, I got to get it together.
I'll say this too. From my standpoint, I stumbled into pornography early, right? And I think that's one of the biggest struggles for young men today is the easy access for pornography, because that leads to the ability for us to objectify women. And rather than cherishing them, we just desire and look at them as objects, something to be used and utilized. And when we do that, it's like we literally dehumanize them. Literally dehumanize them. That's what there's no personality. You have a what? No, I just know that, and in that, like it develops these unrealistic expectations, and in that, like the easy access for those things, like I could see that to me as one of the driving factors uh, for my shortcomings, for my lack of discipline, for my lack of commitment, for my yeah, ultimately lack of discipline.
Yeah, I got the question now. But just to your the corn point, right? Um, like I remember taking my granddaddy's Playboy magazines. You know what I'm saying? The box with the fro on top of it. To the website starting to push stuff out there, and then you not being able to watch them because we're kids, so we're broke, so we can't watch nothing but the trailer. And then I remember when the tubes came out, like when you had like when they were the free junks. You know what I'm saying? And it was like, bro, that was addictive for a young boy. Like you, and then my uncle always told me it was better to look at a magazine than watch that because you get a false idea of what love making and sex even is. Like you looking at this guy that does moves that you could never possibly do because he does this for a living. You know what I'm saying? This woman able to take whatever. You know what I'm saying? It's just a false idea of what sex actually is. You know what I'm saying? But the question I wanted to ask you was, you talked about every girlfriend you had, you cheated on. Because I think this is true for me, but I'm just curious for you. Was it because the way you looked at the relationship was just the fact that it was consistent box?
I That's a good question, and for me, it was I'm relational, and not only that, I desire to help people. So I say it with the air quotes, right? Because they talk about captains, and that goes back to the whole vulnerability thing, right? That may be I truly genuinely I desire to help, right? But then also then saw that as a way not to just help them but also to help me, because it was in return. So in that, I'm now speaking from a standpoint of I cared about people, but then I did not know how to care appropriately. So being in those relationships and not then setting those boundaries in those relationships led me to places where I did not need to be.
I think most of the people in my generation, I'm a millennial. I just turned 30. I think let me not say most. There's just too many. Let me just say that our relationships is basically consistent sex. Like that's what it is. It's like finding someone that's good enough at it that you like to look at enough, and we'll link up for a while, and then it'll we'll fall out, have a toxic 2 year, we're together, we're not together, and then we finally just get tired of each other, and it's over.
Yeah, I could do that.
Man, y'all transitions be crazy.
It wild. Cause like we could stay on that for the rest of the show.
Yeah, I mean the main topic really kind of aligns with it, right? Nee, were you gonna say something?
Yeah, I kind of brought this up on the last show.
Okay.
And kind of to Amber's point, piggybacking the history of trauma, and I call it trauma because the way to listen, just in my personal opinion, hearing CJ and Dwayne talk about how they used to be and the ramifications of that, and then even for like Dwayne, how specifically is shaping how he raises his children, how specifically he handles his daughters, right? When these young boys, I think CJ and both I don't know how to say can I just say Rilla? They both mentioned that they were encouraged. Okay. They were rewarded for that type of behavior. And Rilla trying to change that narrative for his son was like, no, bro, like I'm not giving you no high fives for that. I'm not shouting you out for that. I know that you think that this is supposed to be a coming of age, but it's consequences to that, and until that narrative, like we are very protective about our girls. We're going to tell them about babies and pregnancy and STDs. And, I'm guilty. I've told my daughter, listen, and I apologize for the language. I said, at the end of the day, once you give a man your body, you can't undo it. Mm-hmm. You can never undo it. He can always say he had you. Whether he turned out to be a horrible person, whether he turned out to be no good, he always gonna be like, but I still had you. And there's literally no comeback for that.
I still smash.
That is the power you give when you give your body to someone. So when you give your body to someone, it needs to be someone worthy of that. And someone who's worthy of that wants more than your body. They want your hand in marriage. They want to build a family. They want to build more with you. It's not going to be just that. But the way men are dumbfounded, they can't even collect words when it comes to their daughter. We need to have that same energy for our sons. We need to have that. It should be that heartbreaking. It should be that devastating.
It won't ever be, in my opinion.
I agree. Well,
right. But that is like there are people who will argue down genetically that's impossible. Like that's not how men are made. That's not how they work. It's not that same. But I'm listening to the trauma of that. And now it has created a fear, possibly an unrealistic expectation of trying to control and mitigate risk, because while it was fun when you were doing it, you are now living through the horror of your daughter or the potential horror of your daughter running into someone who was as misguided or who was not being held accountable and being taught to be a gentleman, being taught that his body too is a prize. Where he lays his seed is important. A lot of times we're not having these conversations with young men and porn, and we're teaching young men to devalue women. And then we expect them at some point to grow up and respect them and want to wife them and make a family with them. How many people create children just playing, getting the attaboys from uncles and homeboys, and you a player, you a real G. But a lot of broken homes are created in that space, doing these very these acts, these sexual acts that have very life altering consequences, and then a human is brought into this, and then everybody trying to fix it, get it together, or people are running away, absentee parents, because it's the consequences are more than anybody could deal with. And so I think until we start having the
I'm gonna interrupt because I hear what you're saying. In the premise of teaching our sons. That's a true statement, right? You should teach your sons to value themselves and not relinquish your seed to just anybody. Okay. But
Yep.
everybody knows that women control access to sex. So it don't matter how dope the dude is, if she has an understanding of her value and she is saying like you have to marry me before I give you anything, right? Then regardless of how suave he is, the Casanova he is, how he wines and dines her should not affect her if she's grounded in that, right? So,
Right.
so yes, we should be teaching the guys, listen, you need to fight against your urge to be sexually active. However, if a woman says no, dude can't do nothing.
Right.
But if a dude says no, what can a woman do?
No, but that's what I'm saying. That's a true statement. But that's what I'm
Exactly.
saying. But this is what I'm saying to you.
Mhm.
The statement is that men cannot control their urges. That's what she said. She said that what men have been said that we have these urges and we have to act upon them, right? That's what it said. However, they cannot do anything if the woman says no. There's a matter of fact. There's I wish I remember the country. The men were at war, okay, and the women wanted them to stop fighting because it was killing the
Oh
community.
yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Okay, the women said, "We are not giving you sex." Okay, that's what they said. We're not giving y'all sex at all if y'all not gonna stop fighting.
Really, you know what they talking about, right? Chirac. They're talking
What-
about Chirac, really.
That's based on a Shakespeare play, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But it did happen.
Right. Was it in Africa?
Yes, I
Yeah.
want to see it.
Can I just want to make a point about what Ms. Nay said. It's not that I disagree with you that we shouldn't protect our boys. But we're never going to protect them the way we protect our girls. It's never going to happen. Because when my boy, if I have a boy, if I'm blessed to have one day, I had a conversation, me and my boy Tez on our podcast. We had a conversation with Cheeky Banter, who was a virgin at 26. I would love for my son to
Shout
be
out to Cheeky. He's a
Shout out
dope
to-
dude.
Love me some Cheeky.
I would love for my son to be like Cheeky in the way that he's collected, calm, and he has control over his Johnson, right?
Yeah.
Right. But here's the thing. There is a part of me when my boy has sex for the first time where I'm going to feel a connection with him like I could not feel with my daughter. Because I remember what it was like for me for the first time. There was no pain. There was no bleeding. There was not this high sense of vulnerability. You know what I'm saying? I felt like I had done something great. When I took
You felt empowered by it.
Right. When I took a girl's virginity for the first time, this is what she did after it was over. She did that the whole time. You know what I'm saying? Because she felt like she had lost something. Now, I'm not saying our boys shouldn't be protected because I'm going to be on I'm not going to be the father that's going to high five them. Now, I might go in my room like, damn, my boy got some ass. But I'm not going to celebrate it with him because I don't want him, because I understand how dangerous the box is. I'm just going to keep it all with G. I know how dangerous the box was for me at a young age. I am blessed that I have one child because I was reckless. You know what I'm saying? And I know how having that at such a young age before you've even close to fully developed throws you all the way off. You get to doing stuff. You would do anything for the box, man.
Yeah.
Especially at that young age. So I would never promote it, but it is a difference because I look at my baby girl as being taken. You get what I'm saying? Yeah.
So I think part of it is in how we approach these conversations, right? Like with our kids. Protection for boys is going to look way different. I agree. We're never going to protect them the way that we protect our girls. But for me, I think the key part that's missing with my kids, I always try and give them the why behind everything.
Yeah.
Why you want to move this way and not that way. And I
Right.
always tell them, I'm gonna give you the game and the resources. I done seen it all. I'm 48. You know what I'm saying? I'm approaching the back half of this thing now. So I'm gonna give you the game and the resources. What you do with it is on you. When I told my son, see, for me, when I lost my virginity, you, it was a bet. You know how I don't know if people still do this, but when I was growing up, you know, it used to be like, girl, I'll do this to you. Nah, do that and da 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 da. Nah, man, I'll beat the brakes off you. Woo woo woo.
Facts.
She was
And you
like,
got dared. Prove
yeah,
it.
she was like,
Facts.
Prove it. Show me.
no, you won't.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a good experience for me.
Yeah.
It wasn't. It was not a good experience. I didn't even take any pleasure in my uncle high-fiving me. I was like, and especially looking back on it now, like, wait, what type of response was that? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, no, for real.
I want more for my seed. Like I said, when I got to Atlanta, I was a slut monkey. I was knocking down everything.
I bet in Atlanta.
Everything. Right. And so for my boys, I want different. I want different from them. So when you know better, you do better. And we gotta engineer. We're losing our warrior class. They are eradicating our warrior class. So we gotta build better men. I don't think it's so much as about fighting urges as much as it's about understanding why you just don't move that way.
Facts.
Yeah.
Discipline.
That's what I'm talking about. Like the consequences.
Understanding the ramification, like all that scary talk. Oh, if you get, my grandma used to do all that. Oh, you get pregnant, you're gonna be stuck with the baby and da da da. Man, that stuff don't work. I'm sure there's
no.
So you can't scare them with that type of talk. But
right.
What you gotta do is, for me at least, I just have, and I'm not saying I'm perfect. Obviously, my son went and did what he did.
You are perfect, bro. You perfect in every way.
Hey, I got a burning question I've been meaning to ask you all day, bro.
I'm not gonna answer it, but go ahead.
What did you eat?
See, this is what we be talking about, bro. Listen. I gotta see. I hope kids are not watching this for sure. Okay, listen. I don't like you, bro. I don't like you from the bottom of my soul. I just really don't like. Okay, so let me let y'all into what's going on because he be doing this on every show we be rocking on. Okay, we was in Houston and everywhere we went, we was having some type of dish, and I enjoy eating. Right, for some reason, Rilla watching me eat. You know what I mean? and so we came back on the live. We came back on the live show over on King Talk, and nobody had met me before, and they was like, "Okay, what did y'all think about people that you had just met?" And Rilla, he's like, "Man, you know, cool, everybody." He said, "But that one thing about Humble Dad, he sure know how to eat, right?" And so JR, being who he is over there on the soundboard, does what he does on the soundboard. Now it becomes a thing, right? So every time he try to get back at me, he always asks that question.
What you eat?
Yeah, because my girl also now does the exact same thing, and he know that. Right? So that's what that is, man. I feel good one. I'll calm down. Really, I told him that you gonna come for me though.
Shout out to your lady, man. Because I'm
for sure.
Eat. But honestly, man, we have to. Right now, and I'm just speaking to the brothers in the audience too, specifically. We in the action phase of this thing now. We got to build better, man. And I'm not saying everything rises and falls on sex, but it does. It's so easily accessible for these young bloods now. It used to be first base, second base, third base.
I'm telling you, man.
Home plate. Now it's just home plate. The first date is home plate.
Ain't no dates.
That's true too. I didn't know it was that bad out here.
Wow.
CJ, you say you a millennial. I didn't know.
Yeah, I'm 30.
They don't. They just hook up.
I ain't doing like the way I was moving, bro. Like I wasn't doing no dates, bro. You know what I'm saying? Because I didn't have to.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? It was getting up with her, like whether it was through IG or a mutual friend or whatever the case may be. We gonna text. we might have a couple days where we have 2-hour long conversations on the phone. We feel like we know each other to an extent, and we get into the bonds. Like that's just how it is.
Yeah.
Like I have an issue, like, and this is gonna sound real misogynistic of me, right? I have a real issue like dating a woman and her not expecting sex from me now. Like it's like they like the whole vibe is I just want to know what it's like. And I'm not even really on it. I mean, I will do it. You know what I'm saying? But like that ain't what I'm going for. You get what I'm saying? And I'm running into that a lot right now.
So you're
Yeah.
finding that women just want to get to that, and
want
even
that move.
even with you trying to be more intentional with your dating,
Right.
women are now looking for that.
Right. Especially if they have a child. That happens a lot when they have a child. Yeah.
Yeah, so I got to chime in on this because I'm sitting here thinking about it, and whenever it comes to my boys, that's where it's going to be real for me, right? Like my girls, yeah, that's real, but then that's for my boys, that's where I have to have a different approach because it's like, man, the law of attraction, like um, in that book, it spoke about for women, it's seduction, like they'll seduce you, and then for men, it's charisma, like with their charisma, and my boys, they right now, they have some real outgoing personalities, and that's how you're able to um, um, get that attention. And with that, I look at it from the story like Samson, right?
Mm.
Delilah was able to get his strength, like take his strength. And I think whenever a woman is able to seduce a man, they're able to then get his strength. And just like we talk about with the women, or with our girls, it's like you don't want to become a victim, but then I also then believe that the boys also can become a victim. Like even what CJ was talking about, right? Like there are so many girls out here that are not raised appropriately, right? So they're just giving it away, like giving it away. And if there's something about, especially not for society, like free stuff, right? Free stuff is just automatically attractive. You ain't got to work for it. Oh man, please load it up. And I want to let my boys know that nothing in this life is free. Nothing in this life is free. Hard work will pay off, and in that, I think also sacrifice, giving something up for a long-term gain. I think that's what it has to win out. And it's easy to succumb to our temptations. Very easy. Sin, it's easy, it's enjoyable, right? All these things. So it's like, how do we master temptation? How do we master these things? And I think ultimately, like, if you're focused on yourself and how to better oneself, that's how we're able to get to that point. And for my boys, like, I don't want to discount the whole situation, like as for what y'all are talking about. Like, it is real. But then again, I say a girl can't take what he ain't given. And if he's not to that point, he is the one who's then going to ask her for marriage. And she's the one that gets to turn him down if she so chooses. I don't know the percentage of women that propose to men, but men propose to women disproportionately. So in that, I'm like, hey, like, you have to get ready and you have to get to that point. And I just see, I hold my boys to the same level of expectations that I hold my girls. It is up to you, and then you have that individual responsibility, and it's self-control.
That's good. I think when I said what I said, I'm saying it in this regard that since women control access to sex, that when they have the discipline, the guys can't. They change. Like, guys do what is allowed by women. So if a woman says, listen, I'm not, that's not gonna be me, the man is gonna move different, right? But at the same time, a man that has self-control is very desirable, right? And he's able to then get a different caliber of a woman, right? But at the same time, I think that more there will be a lot, even more women that would try to come at him because he is having that discipline, and they probably want to be the one that break them, you know, because that's how it was in my case when I lost my virginity. You know what I'm saying? I was not on that. However, the young lady, she felt it as
A challenge.
challenge, right? That's not what I was thinking, though. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't thinking that. I just knew that I liked her, you know, and she was my girlfriend, and this was a natural progression, you know, because soon thereafter she dumped me. You know what I'm saying? And so, so I'm saying that yes, both parties need to have self-discipline, but at the same time, guys don't really, if that's what they want, they'll probably pursue you, yes, in a particular way. And there are some dudes that are like sharpshooters and they just try to wait you out. But if you're talking about waiting till marriage and you stick to that gun, it's going to be very challenging for a dude to continue to stay rocking with you. So we're gonna get to this part, right? So as we've been talking, the question of the day, right? The question of the day is, how does where we at? Let's see. How do you parent your kid to do something you didn't do? So we're talking about that parents are hypocrites, right? That was the first question. We talked about, you know, there are things that we want our kids to do that we didn't do, right? We're talking about you know, losing virginity and things of that nature, and or maybe how you spend your money or how you interact with people, how you transition to your particular jobs, like any and everything. I believe as parents, we want our kids to do better than us, right? But however, we're going to have to teach them to do things that we didn't necessarily do. So how would you parent a kid to do something you didn't do yourself? Rilla, we're gonna start with you, bro.
Yeah, I'm still processing that. Because for me, it's about the lessons. Again, when you know better, you do better. Doesn't for me, I don't look at it as I necessarily had to do it, right? And I'm not saying that in a arrogant way. We all want our kids to be further along and better than us. And I know one of the things that traditionally happens in the Black community in particular is that everybody got to struggle. You know what ends up happening? Everybody starts from zero. Everybody got to go through everybody got to work. I never wanted that for my seeds. I want them to continue to build on, you know, maybe I started here, you continue to build on that, right? Then they kids build on that. Then they kids. So nobody's starting from zero. That just requires that when I get new information or when I come into different understanding, I just share it with them. My daughters are old enough to where now, you know, I just pour into them and support them. They mom have the conversation with them a lot around other specific things, but for my boys, pour heavy. You got to keep those lines of communication open because to me, they're weathering and battling so much. Right. And so it's not for me, it's not necessarily that I like say if I at my younger days, I was bad with money, right? Like really, really bad with money. Now I have a different understanding of money. So we talk about investments. Love having conversations around investment, especially with my nephew's big on crypto. The joker said, yeah, I took 10,000 and put it in whatever coin he was in. Young blood. You saved up 10,000? dang, right? And my kids, and so this is their cousin.
Hey,
Kids,
give him a high five on that, huh?
right. Like we high five in that. So when I call him Chico. I talked to Chico. We talking money, right? And this is what I'm saying. So I didn't talk to my uncles about money. They didn't teach me how to save, how to invest, how to bank. I had to go learn that stuff on my own. So to me, it's really about having these fluid conversations with your seeds and not speaking from a place of fear, because they smell that. And when you try and coach or teach out of fear, my experience, they're gonna do the exact opposite.
Every time.
Exact opposite. So it's my take.
You get to choose who go next unless somebody has something they want to say.
I hear from Sugar Curls. What's up, girl?
Oh, yes, right. Sugar Curls. I said you was next, and I did. Look what I did.
No, it's okay. Can I have a little bit more context about this question? Are you shaking your head?
Yes, I'm shaking my head. I don't give context.
Oh,
listen.
Okay.
You answer it and you put whatever context you want on it. It's on you, right? How do you parent your kid to do something you didn't do? I mean, that I gave a couple different perspectives. It could be anything. I mean, we talked about sex. We talked about really just talked about money. Marriage. I mean, it could be a slew of things that you want your kid to do, but you didn't do, right? That's why I put that caption that said, do as I say, not as I do. Right? Yeah. I mean, I know I grew up with that a lot to some degree. Yeah.
So, I just think that would be a difficult thing if the child knows that I didn't do what I'm teaching them. Otherwise, I don't think it would be a difficult thing to do. It would just be simply setting the standard, enforcing. If it's something they really need to do and they may get a disciplinary action for not doing it, I would set the standard, have follow-up disciplinary action if they don't follow it. And then some things they may have to experience on their own. I don't think it would be beneficial to continue to shield a child their entire life. They would need to experience some things as they go through life. But if they don't know that I didn't do it, I don't really see it as a topic that I need to focus on, because they just know what they're being taught and shown essentially. But if it is something they may have seen me do poorly and now they're questioning the directive, okay, well, how can you tell me this and you did this? Then I would have to humble myself and kind of admit my mistake and say, hey, you know what? Mommy didn't do right. Or there's some things I could have done differently. You're right. I'm sorry that hurt your feelings. I'm sorry that affected you that way. But I'm still going to teach you the right way to go about life. I'm still going to teach you the right way, because mommy is imperfect. Mommy makes mistakes. So if it's something that they are aware of, I would go about it that way.
She choosing, or how y'all doing?
Yeah. I mean, she don't have to choose. You can just go. Yeah.
Okay. I would choose Amber.
Okay.
So to piggyback kind of the story regarding my mom, a couple of years ago, I finally, had that come to Jesus moment where, I expressed to her how, I felt abandoned, a lot of things that she didn't teach me. And naturally she got upset, a little defensive, and, she started crying. I said, but Mom, check this out. I said, I'm quite sure one day my son is going to sit down with me and probably tell me where he felt like I dropped the ball. And I'm going to tell him the very thing you just told me. You did the best you can with what you knew. And me and my son actually have those conversations all the time. And I am quick to apologize to my son. Not saying I don't know as an excuse, but I tell him every day that you're new, every day that you get on this earth is a new day. I am as a new mom to you. I'm literally learning as you go. We're learning this together. So when we learn different ways to communicate, different ways to, like you said, that he's my best friend, that's my road dog. And so we're learning this journey of life together as mother, as son. And just like Nee said, he's also a human being. You know, I realize only thing I can control about my son right now is the consequences. No matter how much I try to control him, my son is hard-headed like me. He goes against the grain like me. He has a smart-ass mouth like me. He is actually the reflection of everything. I realize the things that annoy me about him is he is my reflection, which means I got to look back in the mirror. So me and my son have a lot of honest conversations, and there's a lot of apologizing between him and I.
Who you got next, Amber?
Let's go, Rilla.
I think the Rilla went first.
Okay, come on, Nee, what you got?
I share your sentiments. Like I felt that in my spirit over here.
Yeah.
It's the reflecting. It's the seeing you in them. I think for me and my daughter, it's been very transparent, very candid conversations about her thing is, you know, being grown in the freedom, you know, the illusion of the freedom of adulthood. And so for me, it's like, this is the illusion and then this is the reality. And so I will take, okay, this is what my parents were trying to teach me. This is where I had a you moment, which is, I think I'm going to figure it out on my own. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is what it cost me to take that journey. And instead of me doing this in 1 year, it took me 10. It took me 10. I lost 10 years of thriving and excellent, you know, whatever. And not to say that in that 10 years, there wouldn't have been some obstacle or whatever, but I'll never know because I went the long way around. And so I think being honest with our children about where we fell short, you know, sometimes I think there's this, we got to present this thing like this perfection, this pedestal, right? Because we want the respect. But really the respect is in the honesty. The respect is in the transparency, because children will very quickly kind of separate you because of the age. They'll say you're out of touch, you don't understand. And for me, with my daughter, it's like, baby, there's nothing new under the sun. And that's something my mama was telling me. That's something my grandmother was telling me. And it's not new. It's just a little different. It's now it's through technology. When I was a kid, it was passing notes and paper, you know, and chat rooms. And, you know, before then it was another method. But just telling them that even though you didn't see me do this, this is the benefit of doing it this way. Like it's a, I guess in my cost benefit analysis, you know, this is the benefit of doing it this way. You can make this decision, but these are the consequences that could potentially arise from that decision. And if you go that way, this is how your life can potentially improve. I'm always taking the opportunity to correlate whatever she's talking about, whether it's in her social life, and the little situations she deals with in her world, because for them it's serious, it's critical in their world. And I take those opportunities to teach the lesson of do something different, do something I didn't do, have more, do more, be better, be smarter, get to this lesson faster. I know she I know, because she's my child, she gonna go the long way around on some of this stuff. Like, it just I don't live in the fairy tale world about that part. But for me, it's like, do you want to be here now, or do you want to be here 10 years from now, 5 years from now, 7 years from now, 20 years from now? Because these are what these setbacks cost you. And I think helping children make the correlation in terms that they can understand to why doing something you didn't do is better, you know, and how to get to that expected end. I think that helps drive the points home for them. And it really gives them a foundation in which to make their own decisions, but kind of more in line with how you're trying to guide them. Because that's the goal, right? I know better. So I'm trying to give you the game so you don't have to go the hard way. You can go the easier route.
That's what's up.
Go ahead, CJ.
Okay. Get it, CJ.
All right. I want to bring something up real quick about this conversation. And I think this is more of a sensitive conversation for our community in specific, right? I had a show where it was the Gen X and the millennials having a conversation, right? And one of I'll just speak for the millennials. One of our biggest issues is that Gen X doesn't seem to want to listen to what we go through, because what they went through, they feel it was harder and much of a tougher path, and you shouldn't complain, right? So we deal with a lot. And I think that this ties into this because a lot of this stuff can be solved or smoothed over a lot better if we, because I see it as a parent now, because I've done wrong with my daughter already, right? Is if we just own the shit. Like I like a lot of people just don't want to own it. They want to pretend like, you know, that's I believe in a lot of situations that statement, do as I say, not as I do, is because they're not even trying to be better. A lot of people just say that because it's like, you're going to continue to see me do this. I'm not going to get better, but I want you to be better than me, which is okay in a way, but it's the example is more impactful than anything else. And I'll make this confession. I've never made this confession before, right? The reason I didn't start on my varsity football team is because I didn't work hard enough. Okay. And my daughter's a cheerleader. Right. It's hard. It was hard for me to say that. Y'all just know. I thought my coaches hated me. The world was unfair. These dudes didn't run better routes than me. But the truth was, man, they was putting in much more work than I was. So with my daughter, I tell her that. I explain to her how I practice. I explain to how this pain that you're feeling right now, you might feel it when you're in competition. So what I need you to do is push through this. It hurts a little bit, I understand, but push through this, because I'm gonna tell you what it looks like when you don't. You don't get college scholarships. You don't get to be, because she's worked herself to the front of the line. But at first she was in the back, you know, carrying them little girls and stuff. So she hated that, right? But her constantly putting in the work, her constantly listen to what I had to say. Like, your daddy knows something, baby. I'm not trying to control you, but I messed up. Daddy done messed up a lot. And I'm trying to tell you the consequence of me being messed up was I wasn't even the best man for your mama. It's just stuff like that you just gotta be real. Like, the problem is we just lying because we're trying to save us. How many times we gonna be told that it's not about us no more? It's about them. So that's my position.
Can I just piggyback on that, because I had a disagreement with my mother a couple weeks ago. So, you know, I called my dad, you know, upset. My dad has 2 other children. So my dad has 3 children by 3 different women. And so, you know, I called my dad upset. He was like, you know, you really need to call your sister Sharia or your brother, because, you know, they have the same kind of issues with their mothers. I was like, wait a minute, Dad. You chose those women. And you could tell, like, his whole face. I said, and I'm like, no, I'm not. I said, but Dad, what did you see in those women? Because the thing me and my siblings have in common is we're having issues with our mothers not being involved with our lives. And what did he say? Amber, I was young, you know, your Sharia's mother was just, you know, I was 18 and she was
Come
just,
on.
Jump off. And then your brother's mom, it was the same thing. And, you know, your mother got pregnant with you, and I didn't want your siblings to be like, you know, so I decided to marry your mother when she was pregnant. But even then he didn't want to, and I love my dad, but it was like that hard. It was so hard for him to swallow that pill that I realized I was mirroring his decisions and the type of women he had children with.
Ooh.
And as a 39-year-old woman, I'm his youngest, crying to him still about my mother not being a mother. You know, so I just had to, you know, we had that conversation a couple weeks ago.
That's heavy, Amber. That's heavy.
Thanks for sharing. That's dope. That's crazy.
Yeah.
You know what's interesting before Dwayne goes? I think most of us are somewhere around the same age. No, I mean most, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we have you know, the baby CJ and Dwayne, right? That I think that the generation. What?
How old is Dwayne? How old are you, Dwayne? You on mute.
34.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wow.
88.
Maybe.
So what I've seen is that the generation of like my mother and that age range, and even like my pops, it was never in my life. I remember having the same type of conversation. He said, well, I was just young, right? And there was not a sense of accountability that they should have just said, you know what, I was wrong. Like, I didn't do the right thing. I should have did X, Y, and Z if I could do it over again, right? So, however, we know that they're like that, but what we're trying to do right here, what I'm hearing on the panel is like, listen, and even in the chat, we got to talk to them and let them know what our, at the time, age appropriate, our decisions were not the best decisions. And as a result, this is where we are. And if I would have made a different decision, this is probably where I could have been, right? And so, and that's one of the reasons for the question, for those that be wondering why I be asking these questions, because my goal is always to make sure that my kids are in a better position than I am. And I enjoy hearing other people's perspectives so that I can learn something to actually give back to my kids. Dwayne, what you got? And we ending on you, bro.
No pressure, right?
But before you go, okay,
Come
y'all
on
need
with
to go check out Amber over there on IG, Chicago Rilla. He's trying to help people in the back scenes and things. He's over
Check
there
that
on
IG out.
TikTok,
Sure.
you know what I'm saying? Shout out to Chicago Rilla, you know what I'm saying? And then Nee Lewis is antisocial, but you can catch her over here anytime she decides to say yes to me. You know what I'm saying? I think her and Amber probably gonna connect. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, she's gonna be my new bestie.
You know what I'm saying? And we doing things over here. Then you got CJ with his podcast 5100. He trying to make things happen over there.
5100. I'm about to follow right now.
Yeah,
Yeah, I need to go find it so I can watch.
Absolutely. All right, Dwayne, it's on
you.
you.
At your own risk.
Go ahead, Dwayne.
Oh man, good stuff. Hey, I love and appreciate hearing y'all's perspective. I had an interview a few weeks back, and one of the questions is how do you handle failure? And that was a great question because some people don't handle failure well. I've learned to embrace it, and it's funny, CJ, you had the story about your not starting in football or your varsity, right? I have a similar story.
That one hurt.
Oh yeah. Oh, it does. It does. And there's something about failure and rejection that hurts us. That hurts us real good. But I think with that pain, we're able to grow. So with me, I remember in my 8th grade year, I was living with my dad in California. He was living with another woman at that time. I went out there to live with them. Stuff wasn't going right. And a lot of things was not going right in my life. But I did not know how to express it or show it constructively. So as for playing basketball, I remember playing basketball and I had a really bad attitude. And that the coach of the high school was there watching that 8th grade game. And once I got to for my freshman year, that was the coach of the freshman team. And I remember going up to that list and after basketball tryouts and looking on that list, and my name was nowhere on there. And I was disappointed. I was hurt. I even wanted to write him a letter, right, to tell him how disappointed I was and how big of a mistake it was. But I think he made an absolute good decision because I was not at the place to contribute to anything productive because of what was going on in my life. So as for a lesson that I can teach my children is exactly that. If we don't watch our actions, if we don't watch our attitudes, it will cost us. If we react and act to certain situations, it will cost us. And you were making mention like keeping from prolonging certain things and having things go instead of it going a year, it goes 10 years. That reminds me of the story of the Israelites in the Bible. The promised land. It's flowing with milk and honey. but they didn't go because of fear. And we've touched on this as well as for what fear can do. And because they weren't obedient, because they allowed fear to control them, they did not go, and it cost them. They had to wander for 40 years. And I believe in that wandering, it gets you to a certain point. Failure gets you to a certain point if you handle it well. And those are the things that I'm as for trying to teach my children, is how to handle situations well. As for my son, my oldest son, he has a problem with disappointment. And I know it can hurt him sometimes, where he thinks that he's a bad kid. And I'm like, son, you're not a bad kid. You just make bad choices at times. And I think that's a lot of the things that, as for us to focus on, is the choices in which we make. So I desire as a parent to then enable my children to make good choices. And I want to share this before I go. I was reading a book, which I rarely do. I struggle as a child to read. Education was not my thing. But as I get older, I find that it's beneficial. And there's the book, 7 Good Habits for Highly Effective something. See, I don't even remember the title.
Highly effective people.
Thank you. Thank you.
7 habits for highly effective people.
Thank you. So in that book, it talks about these intrinsic things that we have as human beings. And it says 1 is 4 things. 1, self-awareness. 2, conscience. 3, imagination. And 4, self-will or self-determination. And the last 3 are dependent on the first one, self-awareness. That goes back to, as for raising girls, raising sons, self-awareness. If you're not aware of what you possess, what you're capable of, what your strengths and what your weaknesses are, the world will take advantage of you and you'll be lost. So I look at it from the standpoint as for teaching my children all these things. As for self-awareness, be self-aware of your situation, who you are, what makes you tick, what's going on around you, and also your conscience. I teach from the Bible. I teach from the Bible with the difference between right and wrong. And imagination. Imagine where you can be once you're able to then see the things around you and then handle them differently. And then as for will, the self-will, being able to make better choices, even whenever the masses are making the wrong choices. How do you differentiate your actions from what everybody else is doing? That's what I say. So as for teach my children what I didn't do, I struggle on those. So each of my mistakes, each of my flaws, I will then share with them. As for being transparent, I'm not perfect. Therefore, I don't want to be a hypocrite saying that I am or pretending that I am, because they're not perfect and they will make mistakes. It's just how we're able to then proceed afterwards.
Man, I want to say I appreciate you all. Listen, I told you 10-15, but listen, I told y'all be getting in here acting costume and basketball.
We doing the most.
My boy Clutch.
Absolutely. That what a dope take. I really appreciate the time that y'all have given me this evening. And y'all perspective was like incredible. I didn't even have to really talk a lot. And I talk a lot. Dwayne know that. Really do too. Yeah. All right. Well, until next time, we out here. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe to the channel and all that jazz. And you can go to the website, humbledad.life. I did it for you, Rilla, because Rilla said I don't be doing it enough. You know what I'm saying? Until next time, we out here. Dude.
Take it easy.
I'm the last one.
All right. What a phenomenal show. There's no for me, I really appreciate people talking to me about the things in their life because that's really where you get to understand the perspective in which they're coming from. Because oftentimes when you hear people on other panels, they come from a generalistic perspective, which is cool and all, but to hear the life experience of an individual really helps you see, okay, they navigated this way. I like their perspective on how they navigated their situation. I may want to take that particular path. And that's one of the things that I try to do with my kids. And I talk to them on a regular basis about, things that I didn't do well whether it was in my marriage, whether it was as a youngster, even when I'm with him. Like tonight, I overreacted with one of my kids, and I came back and I said, you know what, I apologize. I think you deserve what you got, but I shouldn't have done as much as I did, you know. And so he was able to respond with an embrace of that he really loves me, as opposed to a fake hug. He gave me a real one, right? So shout out to all the fathers and the mothers that are out there taking care of their business, and I appreciate y'all. You know, don't forget to come back next week. We out here. Deuces.